Hi, it's me, Alex, a stay-at-home reader, and I was gonna film this video at home and actually hold up books, but that's not gonna happen. That's not this season that I'm in. We're busy. So you get another car chat. This time we are alongside the baseball field while my son crashes the high school practice. As homeschoolers, we're not allowed to participate in school sports in the state of Connecticut. So to make up for a lack of baseball season for him, he's been umpiring for the town. He's still practicing. He's doing a scrimmage tonight. I made him uncomfortable, apparently, taking pictures and video. My bad. So I'm trying to keep my cool and my distance. But his travel baseball coach is the coach for a New Haven high school, and he invited him to help and do some live pitching. So it's nice to have that level of inclusion. He already knows some of the kids on this high school team because they play travel ball with him in the summer and the fall. But springtime, yeah, it's just, he's been working out with this coach. He's been doing pitching lessons. So anyway, while we are here and they're doing that, I just drove down so I'm not directly next to the field. And so hopefully I'm not embarrassing him again. But today I want to do the high school required reading tag, and that's required reading, because this tag is basically kicking off a project that Nicole of Noteworthy Fiction and I are doing together, in which we buddy read books that we read or should have read in high school. So the point of this tag is to kind of kick off that series. The next thing we do is come up with a list of books that each of us would like to revisit, and then we'll combine that into a kind of long-ish TBR, and every other month or so we'll pick one to buddy read together. That's our plan. So this is, like I said, the high school required reading tag, in which we reflect on the books we read or were supposed to read in high school. So question number 1 is high school crush. Name a book you were assigned in high school and loved at the time. Follow-up question, have you reread it? Did it hold up? So I have multiple. I think I ended up liking a lot of the books that I read in high school. And I've revisited a few. I have plans to revisit more. But the one that stands out in my mind is Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. Absolutely love that. My book club has read it at least 2, if not 3 times over the past couple of years. I don't think I've reread it since watching the Hulu series. I watched the first season, and then The Testaments came out, and I hate that book. So Hulu combined with the sequel kind of dulled the shine of The Handmaid's Tale for me, but that's probably one of my top 5 all-time favorite reads. Anyway, so in that dystopia theme of my senior year English class, we also read A Clockwork Orange, and I loved it. I have not revisited it. We didn't watch the movie in class, I don't think. I think that's something I watched on my own at some point. And I have recently, within the past year or 2, acquired a used copy of A Clockwork Orange, and I am looking forward to rereading that as an adult, and seeing if that holds up. I think it will. I mean, that one is uncontestedly a classic of dystopian fiction. I have since read other books that reminded me of it. In fact, my book club, I think last summer, read School for Good Mothers, and that book to me was a combination of Handmaid's Tale and A Clockwork Orange. So that was a 5-star book club read. Excellent discussion. Add that to your TBR. Second question is gym class. Name a book you were assigned that you hated. Have or would you give it a second chance?
I guess this is me assuming everyone hated gym class, but I was not coordinated, insecure, and had gym class first thing in the morning, and so that's why it goes with this prompt.
This answer, I think, is going to come up several times. I'm going to use this book to answer several of these tag questions, but that would be The Great Gatsby. I have reread it, and I still did not like it. And yet, for whatever reason, I feel like I need to give it one more try, like third time's the charm with The Great Gatsby. So I'm not 100% ready to write it off yet, but I'm mostly confident that is just not a book for me. Locker combo. Is there a book you remember having to read, but you can't actually remember the book? And this one is Ragtime for me. I think this was my sophomore year of high school. I remember a certain scene just because like it got a lot of giggles and like, oh my gosh, can you believe that happened? But other than that, I just remember it being a 1920s book, lots of characters. I remember having Harry Houdini as a character, but that's it. Yeah, and that's one also I recently picked up a used copy of and want to revisit because I think I liked it, but I don't remember it. CliffNotes. Was there a book you were supposed to read but didn't? Yeah. So I think I used SparkNotes more than CliffNotes, and actually there was a website called pinkmonkey.com, and I did look. It still exists. I was honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little worried as I typed Pink Monkey into the search bar, and I was like, okay, I swear this was like a book synopsis site or like a chapter breakdown, like CliffNotes type site. And it was safe. It was good. Grapes of Wrath. We were assigned to read. But yeah, I used like internet chapter by chapter breakdowns to get through the unit in high school and pass my class, the quizzes and tests in class. Going back to a book I didn't like, The Great Gatsby. At the time that it was assigned, I skimmed it. I remember going online and copying the chapter summaries and pasting them into my Palm Pilot so that I could read it on a Boston Harbor tour. That was like the overnight class trip to like kick off the sophomore school year. And that's how I read The Great Gatsby, was like chapter summary at a time. And so for that reason, I gave the book a second chance as an adult. Still didn't like it, but we're talking like 8-ish, 9-ish years ago that reread. And so I'm thinking maybe we try it again. Electives. We're up to number 5. I haven't been numbering, but number 5, electives. Did you read just for fun? And so what book or books were you reading outside of your assignments, your assigned reading during high school? So I think I had been reading the Redwall series. I think I initially read Redwall in probably 7th or 8th grade. I want to say 8th grade. And then at some point in high school, I found my copy of Redwall and reread it, and then went on to read a bunch of books that are in the series. I know I picked back up doing that in college or after college. So I'm sure I read at least a couple of Redwall books. Also, my senior year of high school, I binged the Left Behind series. I'm embarrassed by that now, but I was blown away. I read them as if they were sci-fi, and they kind of blew my mind. That's probably the closest I got to being sucked into like an evangelical mindset, but I just thought those books were bananas. I mean, they kind of feed into this like apocalypse reading, like dystopia thing. I don't know. It had me like referencing or like looking up things in the book of Revelations to align with like what was happening in the series. Yeah, I don't know. That's just one that caught my attention. So also books I remember reading like over the summer by the pool. I think the summer between junior and senior year, I read the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy. And somewhere around there, I also read The Count of Monte Cristo because the movie had come out. So I loved the movie, read the book, realized how watered down the movie is. So that was one of my not assigned but just for fun reads, Count of Monte Cristo. Also one I don't remember well, I need to revisit.
High school for me was 2000 to 2004. So the other books that were really popular at this time that I read were The Poisonwood Bible, The Lovely Bones, Dan Brown's books, Angels and Demons, and The Da Vinci Code, and also Aragon had just come out. My senior year is also when I discovered Patricia Cornwell's Scarpetta novels, because Kay Scarpetta, the main character, was a medical examiner, and I had done my senior year internship at the county medical examiner's office.
Rebound. What book would you replace from the typical assigned reading list? Let's go back to The Great Gatsby, huh? So when I read Passing by Nella Larson, I was blown away by how great the story was, and the fact that for it being a classic of the Harlem Renaissance period, I had never heard of it. And why? Why is The Great Gatsby taught every year in every high school and Nella Larson's Passing isn't? I think it's a better book. I think it's a better story with similar themes and elements. There's longing, there's class issues. It's the same time period. It's just a better book. There's tragedy and disaster. And, yeah, so I would replace The Great Gatsby with Passing. Teacher's pet, what book got you excited about reading for class? I think my junior year, we read Beowulf. And we read Gilgamesh, the Epic of Gilgamesh, and Beowulf. And then from there we read Grendel. And I remember just absolutely loving that unit and being like excited to like break down line by line things that were going on and like have the teacher like really walk us through those books. Study hall. What was the most difficult book you read in high school, or the one you spent the most time studying? The Canterbury Tales. I don't think we read all of the Canterbury Tales. I think we picked just certain tales, stories, characters out of it to read. And that was just, I was gonna say it was like reading a foreign language to me, and it kind of is. But that went over my head, and I have very little like retained memory of the Canterbury Tales. Nails on a Chalkboard. What was a book that made you groan when you find out you'd have to read it again? So it's not so much that I've had to reread books that were assigned, but more that when I think about the things I don't remember and know that if I want to engage with them, I will have to reread them. And I'm not looking forward to it because I remember not liking them. A Separate Piece. Knowles? Is Knowles the author? I don't know. Separate Piece I didn't like. I don't think I had to read it in high school, but maybe I read it in 8th grade, To Kill a Mockingbird. I know everyone loves that book. I remember having an okay experience with it, but I don't remember the book. And I don't really want to reread it. Extra credit. What book do you think should be added to every high school reading list? So this one is just on my mind at the moment because I finally got my husband to agree to reading it. So one book that we did have to read in high school that I wouldn't suggest it be replaced, I still think high schoolers should read it, is 1984 by George Orwell. Really enjoyed it. Don't remember it well. Need to revisit. But it was assigned in high school. I liked it. But one book that I would add to the high school reading list, just because I think it's along the same lines as 1984, but it's much more relevant to today, especially to today, is The Circle by Dave Eggers. That one I love. It's about technology companies and social media and our reliance on it, and the sticky like meshing of these big tech companies with the government and how dangerous that becomes to individual rights and privacy. So that's one I think would be a good addition to like a senior level reading, just because it's like an updated version of similar themes to 1984.
I would also add Brotherless Night. This is a story that takes place during the Sri Lankan Civil War, but I think the lessons can give context on a more global level that I think would be a good thing to explore for high schoolers.
And then BFFs, tag some people you would like to hear answers from. So I will link below. This, like I said, is a brand new tag. Nicole and I just made it up. So I know none of you have done it. And so please feel free to do so. But I will go ahead and tag some people so I can make sure that they see it. And please participate. I think this is a really fun way to kind of like revisit and get us thinking, walk down memory lane, and keep those TBRs full. Bye.